Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DC Stewart Show Podcast. I am your host, Derek Stewart, along with McKinfolk, Isaiah, and Najee. Man, we're knocking this thing down on another Monday morning. It is February 2nd, 2026. Remember, we only got 28 days in this month. So once those 28 days click down, we're into March, we're in the spring, and we're going to kick down some even more harder topics to bring to you. Make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button because it's so critical to the algorithm to push our content out to you, and you get the notifications. See that notification bell right on the top of YouTube. And in the meantime, you are currently watching the DC Stewart Show Podcast live. No ESPN scripts, all down to the science, hard topics, and vibing. So make sure that you stay with us, participate, and we're going to get this thing kicked off. So I want to jump into this first topic. And we had a really good weekend of sports, by the way. So before we kick everything in, we're going to recap some of the stuff we talked about from Saturday night when me and Isaiah covered Sha'Carri Richardson and, her situation with that speeding ticket and all of those type of things. But let's get off to the first one and let's kick down the coaching searches. I think they have completed all 10 teams, technically, for the coaching positions. Looks like Arizona hired a coach just over recently, 24 to 48 hours ago. And it looks like the Las Vegas Raiders hired a coach over 24 to 48 hours. I want to get your take, starting with you, Isaiah, on this thing about, we talked about on our last shows that technically these teams were going to have all of this in place by the time the month began because, the draft is right around the corner. It's 2 months away, 60 days away. So with this hire for the Raiders with Klint Kubiak, Klint Kubiak is Gary Kubiak's son. Gary Kubiak backed up John Elway forever with the Denver Broncos, the original Orange Crush Denver Broncos, Mile High Stadium, the whole 9 yards. Gary Kubiak was kind of a Don Strock type of quarterback where if they needed him to come in, if Elway couldn't go or any other quarterback couldn't go, he came in and he knocked it out of the park each time he came in there. His record speaks for itself. Then he moved on to coaching and he coached at the Houston Texans for a little while. Been in the league probably for over at least rolling up on 35, 40 years, I would say, even though he's not that old, but I'll just throw that in there just as giving him extra credit for all the experience that he has. Klint grew up in this family of football. Klint knows football. What do you think he's going to be able to do to satisfy Mark Davis's urges? Because Mark Davis he has urges. He likes big name coaches, but he can Pete Carroll. So give me some, context on what you think Klint Kubiak is going to have to do when he comes in there.
He's got to come in there and win. That's what it's all about. Is this like we talked about before? It's like this microwave type of production. You got to do it right away. And if he can't do it right away, he's going to be in the same predicament Pete Carroll was in. Pete Carroll is a big name, and he was a guy who's been around through collegiate and pro forever. Man, he's an old school blue tag, but he couldn't make things happen over there. He couldn't change it sooner than everybody expected. He came in there and he didn't even make a mark. He just came in there and kept things as they were. And he didn't turn the program around. So Kubiak coming in there, he's got to come in there and win right away. One thing about it, he's got him a young guy. He may give him a little bit more time because Pete Carroll was so old and he was getting ready to croak any damn way. So he's probably say, let me go ahead and go and get somebody new and keep him around for a little while. Cause stability means something, man. You look at Pittsburgh, they kept their head coach there for 18 years. And of course, when you stay that long, it gives a sense of stability. And that's what a lot of these teams really want. But you got to win in the whole process. So that's why he's probably going young with the experience, like we were just talking about, how long he's been around the game. He might be able to turn that team around in a fashion that, the Raiders organization is trying to portray. Yeah.
So Najee, I see you all bundled up there with a jacket on, and you're living in Florida, just like Isaiah's living in Florida. It looks like you
Mm-hmm.
in the Midwest to me, so I had to bring that out to let
It's
people
cold,
know
man. It's cool.
that it's been cold
Everybody
in
knows.
Florida. Luckily enough, on the
Everywhere.
West Coast here in LA, it's been like summer. So, Najee, give
Yeah,
me
you
your
guys
take
been getting.
on this Klint Kubiak hire. You think he's going to keep Geno Smith? That's your favorite
No,
quarterback, correct?
no, you know that's not my favorite quarterback. My favorite quarterback is Lamar Jackson. Geno Smith is your favorite quarterback. He is trash, man.
You know
But
I had to stick that in there on you. I had to
exactly
slide that
because
one in there on you, Najee.
I do not care for that guy, bro. That boy is hot
No,
garbage. But yeah, like I said, it's always good to have a new face in the office. So let's go ahead and
yeah.
see what them boys gonna do. But they got to start off with a better quarterback though. That's the only thing I definitely got to say because you can tell me all you want to say about Geno Smith. He's had different coaches, he has different teams, he had different schemes, different everything, and he still give you the same production. It doesn't matter.
Najee, what if he just beat out the rest of the quarterbacks that's sitting there then? What do you
Unless
think
they
about that?
keep
Or
him,
you don't?
correct? If they decide to
Yeah,
roll with him past the draft,
right,
because they may use him for trade
right.
bait, correct?
They
Could be.
can, but that don't mean they gonna keep him. They gonna use him as bait.
Well,
That's all.
if
They gonna
he's
put they
got
gonna
some
they gonna
value
they
to
gonna
him,
put
man.
they gonna put him in a hook. They gonna put him on a hook, throw him in the water, and catch some other bait. Let me get some other big fish. That's what they're gonna do.
Like I said, Geno Smith is a very formidable backup quarterback. I'm not going to say he's
Back
not a
up. Yeah,
bum.
you're
He's not a
right.
scrub. I mean, the brother can throw the ball. He makes good decisions. I just don't know whether it depends on the offensive coordinator and how he gels with offensive coordinator, and just like any other backup quarterback to me. I mean, he's been a starter in the league. He started for Seattle on the tail end of Pete Carroll's, tenure with the Seattle Seahawks. However, when he got
Hmm.
to the Raiders and Chip Kelly got with him, and that should have been a match made in heaven as far as I was concerned, with Chip Kelly being the innovative offensive mind that he is, but it just didn't gel
Hmm.
because a lot of other things didn't gel. The offensive line didn't gel. They couldn't open up a decent running game, didn't gel. They got Ashton Genty. Like I said
Yeah.
before, they drafted Ashton Genty and they put all of that investment in Ashton Genty. When you think if they put that investment in Ashton Genty, they would have built an offensive line made for the heavens, correct, Isaiah?
Yeah, and that's where it starts, man. We all who know about football know it starts in the trenches. You gotta have those big old hogs up front because that's where it starts and ends. If you don't have a good offensive line, a good defensive line, you're gonna lose on both sides of the ball. So if I was a head coach, as I'm coming in there brand new, and we're not even thinking about quarterback situation yet, we got to make sure we got somebody to protect whoever's in there as quarterback. So if Gino is the guy, make sure you put somebody in there to protect him because you ain't going to get a chance to see his talent if he's not protected. He's going to be knowing how to run. That's the only thing you're going to find out if he can run or not. If you don't have a good line, so that's it.
And one
Yep.
thing is for sure that I do know about football. The running game opens up the passing game. It doesn't
Of
tend to
course.
work opposite of that. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
The
You got to
running
have that
games
running game
creates
going.
play action
That
pass.
disguises everything. Yep,
And
it
that's what
disguises
an
everything.
offense
Yeah.
usually they design offenses to get the defense to play run, not pass. Correct, Najee?
Hmm.
Yeah, you're right. You're
And
right.
the Raiders
But then
have never
again,
done
but
that.
then again, it's backbreaking when when you have to mix it up and your quarterback is not taking any of the weight off you, especially when you're a
Well,
young running back.
yeah. Yeah.
That's the part of having a good offense when you do mix it up. Once you mix it up, but it starts with the running game. You got to mix it up because what happens is if you got a good brutal running back like your team has a brutal running back with Henry back there. And once that gets started, it opens up everything else. But if they stop Henry,
Hmm.
even your passing game kind of suffer for it. So you know that's the first thing the Raiders has to do is get that stable line there where they can protect the quarterback. And if they don't protect the quarterback, they just so well not to even change coaches. Yep.
Exactly. And we'll see what Clint Kubiak can do because he's a young mind. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. However, he's working for a boss that's not going to have a lot of patience. I would assume that since he's coming in like he's coming in, Mark Davis is going to give him at least 2 years. That's what I would just throw out there to you guys. That Mark Davis is Mark Davis is impulsive. He's an impulsive person. And I picked that up from his hiring practices and how he brings coaches in, and how he did Antonio Pierce, because I really don't think that was really cool the way he fired Antonio Pierce, because technically when Antonio Pierce took over, that team was in shambles. It was a mess, when Josh McDaniels got out of there. And Josh McDaniels, with all due respect to him, he's a fantastic offensive coordinator. He came from New England, of course. He coached at the Broncos, and then he didn't last there. And then, Mark Davis turned around and hired him, gave him some time, but obviously the time on him ran out. And then Antonio Pierce took the team and did some really special things with the team within a year. And then within another year, he was gone. So that's the reality that you have to deal with when you're dealing with specific owners. You got to understand your boss. You got to understand what is needed. You have to know exactly when to approach him and say, look, this is what we need, through the general manager, of course, because you got to go through the chain of command to get up to Mark Davis. So let's move on to the Cardinals here. It looks like the Cardinals hired Mike LaFleur. That's a very familiar name in the league. Matt LaFleur is the head coach for the Green Bay Packers. And let me just make one keynote right here that Matt LaFleur, Mike LaFleur, Liam Cohen, and Klint Kubiak, they're all Sean McVay proteges. I mean, Sean McVay has really, really set a precedent in this league. If you look at Liam Cohen is the head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And look what he's done there, right? I mean, with the offensive minds that these guys have. And, Isaiah, you said a long time ago, man, you get with these very, very seasoned coaches and you learn from them. You learn their habits, you learn their processes, you learn how they deal with every level of management from the beginning to the end, because a head coach has to manage everything. He has to manage the front office, technically, from, the administrative people
down to the trainer,
all the way to the personal trainers, to the trainers, to everything. So with Sean McVay, and that's John McVay's grandson, by the way. John McVay was the general manager, and he was an executive for the San Francisco 49ers back during those dynasty years. So these are guys that grew up with the football in their playpen. They had a football in their playpen when they grew up. And technically, with that said, Mike LaFleur being hired with the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm going to start with you with this one, Najee. The Arizona Cardinals is not an easy organization to work for either as a head coach, but they have some decent talent on that team.
They have some really good talent.
They got some really good talent on that team.
You got tight end, you got
they
receivers.
got Marvin Harrison Jr. He was a superstar wide receiver. And I think Mike LaFleur, since he's been around his brother, Matt LaFleur, he's going to bring some dynamics to that offense. Don't you think so, in Arizona?
Yeah, I think so, because the only thing they really need to do is make sure they have their quarterback healthy, because he was not healthy to pretty much more than half the season. So they just had to go with their backup quarterback. So their team has some upside to it. So a new coach, let's see what they can do, man.
How about you, Isaiah? Because Arizona, like I say, Michael Bidwell, the son of Bill Bidwell, when they were in St. Louis, that team moved from St. Louis to Arizona, by the way. They used to be called the St. Louis Cardinals. And then the Rams subbed in for the St. Louis Cardinals. The Rams moved from Los Angeles back in the mid to late 80s into the 90s. I would assume, I'm going to just give it a 10-year window, that they moved to St. Louis and they were called the St. Louis Rams. So with all of that said, the Cardinals have been underperforming technically since they went to the Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Remember that Super Bowl? They had, they had all of that talent. They had Kurt Warner, right? They had a lot of good players on that team.
They had everything, man.
Yeah.
When they put Kurt Warner in there, that was just the dynamic that they needed. He got him off of the stocking aisles at a store. He was
Yeah,
doing
he
a
was
regular
working at a
nine to
grocery
five
store,
job.
by the way. Kurt
Yeah.
Warner was bagging
hmm
grocery, and
Yeah.
he got so blessed with that opportunity, because
hmm
Mark Bulger was the starting quarterback for the Rams while they were in St. Louis, and then he started nutting up, and once he started doing that, Kurt Warner had the perfect opportunity to step in there
Oh
and
yeah. You wind
and
up
and
being
lead what they call the
had a
greatest
championship.
show on turf. Not just the
Yeah.
greatest show on earth, but the greatest show on turf.
Yeah, that means something. We talking about bringing new faces in and bringing in these brand new coaches. So every one of these brand new coaches making coach DC, and it's not going to be them as a failure if they don't win, because I'm looking at a situation where all of these brand new coaches coming out of the box, first time head coaches in the NFL, and if you don't have the right GM to put the proper talent on that field for them, they'll fail, man. Because what we're talking about is the fact that not a guy who won't be able to coach at a high level and have the best players in. He's got to be able to know how to trade players, bring in a player to substitute, and bring all of these different dynamics to the team, other than a guy who just know how to coach. So if you got a guy who know how to coach but he don't have the talent, man, that ain't no good either. So that means these owners, they putting the trigger on these coaches. They got to start thinking about everything, not just the coaches, but the GM and the coach. That's why I'm so intrigued and so enthused and so enlightened about what's going on here with the Miami Dolphins. I thought our Dolphins should have got a seasoned coach, but when you got a seasoned GM, that's going to make that coach look good if he put the proper talent on the field for him. So that's the thing that people got to look at. You got to have a great GM for these head coaches that's coming in. And if you don't, you clipping that short, that head coach. You cutting his legs from under him if you don't put the right talent on the field. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what? That was excellent what you just said, because the GM does matter. The GM is like the pivot
Yeah.
person, because the GM is the buffer between the
He runs the
coach
show.
and the owner.
Yeah.
So the GM technically
hmm
has a lot of responsibility. Najee, I'm going to move over to you. They had Larry Fitzgerald back into those championship years and I'll just say that they made it to the Super Bowl. They made it to the NFC Championship and they got to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that they're Super Bowl champion. However, since the San Francisco 49ers dynasty in the 80s and the Dallas Cowboys, I would say a mini dynasty until Jerry Jones cut that short. The two best general managers in football back then was John McVay. I just mentioned his name, Sean McVay's
Yeah.
grandfather, and Jimmy
hmm
Johnson. I mean, there was no other two general managers that was as pivotal and critical to the franchise getting the talent that they needed. The Cardinals, all I'm saying is, Najee, do you think the Michael Bidwell should just stay out of everything and let this young guy take this team to that next level?
Yeah, especially when you're talking, because like how we talked about Bill, the old coach for the
Belichick?
Patriots. Yeah, Belichick. So when you got a whole bunch of old people want to bring in old school stuff, and it just doesn't freaking blend with what's going on right now. I mean, you got to let the young guys go sometime. Let them go with their own plan, and let them work, bro. Don't stop trying to install them old habits.
And they do install old habits quite often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do, and
Jerry
and it goes
Jones.
backfire. It backfire, and then guess what? And if you try to do that with them, and they can't get through the young fellas, you're gonna fire him, and it's not his fault. You going because he's going by what you're trying to install into these young people, and it's not gonna blend well with them.
Yeah. Getting back to Jimmy Johnson, DC and Najee. Jimmy Johnson
Mm-hmm.
was great at that because he was a guy who taught psychology in college. He was a psychology major. So
Mhm.
he know how to
Mm-hmm.
get in the psyche of people, man, especially football players. He knew how to deal with them, man, on a level that you would never imagine. So he would take a player who's right at his peak of being great and pull the rest of that little 5-10% out of him. And guys who just who was mediocre, he'll let them know, man, if you don't do this, that, and the other, you're not going to make the team. So it was all in the hands of that player, whether he want to buy in to Jimmy Johnson's philosophy, because if you don't, he know how to show you the door, man, because he didn't tolerate anything from you. If you came to one of his meetings late or you slept in one of those meetings, dude, when you wake up after that film session, you won't have a job.
Ask John Roper, linebacker John Roper, right?
Yes. And that's the thing that's different, DC and Najee, with these younger players. You got to know how to almost massage their shoulders to get the best out of these guys and to take the distractions away from them, because there's so much stuff going on right now around the world with the social media and all this type of stuff. There's a huge amount of distractions out there. So if you can't be smart enough to know how to take these guys away from all the weird noises around them and get them channeled to what you need them to do on that football field, you can't get the best out of them. So that's Jimmy thing. He knew how to get the best out of his players, man. He had a whole string of great players that he coached. And I'm talking about on every facet of the football field. He had great talent, from the receivers to the quarterbacks, the running back, the linemen. I mean, everybody who he's coached, you got somewhere that's a Hall of Famer. Some of those guys are Hall of Famers that he's coached. DC, you know it. I mean, he's got so many good guys, and these guys love him to death. You seen when he made it to the Hall of Fame himself, how many people was crying for him, because they looked at him as a father figure, man, and a mentor, and a guy who going to teach you the ropes, man, and he's going to teach you the right thing, and he's not sugarcoating anything. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that was a very good point as well, Isaiah. Jimmy Johnson, he knew what triggered players to do certain things. Like, for example, I give an example, Dexter Manley. Dexter Manley played for Oklahoma State. Jimmy Johnson was a coach for Oklahoma State. Right. And Dexter Manley approached Jimmy Johnson about getting him a car. And Jimmy Johnson said, well, what's the matter with the bike? You riding a bike, continue riding that bike. So that was a point that Jimmy Johnson was telling him, look, I'm not doing any extra favors for you. You're gonna earn your way up to the top, and then when you get to the NFL, you can buy yourself a car. That's the example and analogy that I was using. So let's get back to these younger coaches. The younger coaches in the league are the new generation of coaches. Najee, these coaches they're getting acclimated to how to deal with these players, and since these are Sean McVay's proteges, they've watched him at the Rams just year after year after year to bring talent in there and be able to get the most out of that talent. And Sean McVay is a very well-liked coach, by the way. Yeah. And I think Matt LaFleur is a very well-liked coach at Green Bay, and Liam Cohen for Jacksonville, I would assume he is too. And Klint Kubiak as well. So, Najee, these younger coaches is just going to have to use a psychology that the older coaches just no longer have, because they're dealing with mentalities from generations ago. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. You got different mentalities, mindsets, thought process. It's just like what you said when you got all the social media and different distractions. I mean, older people don't even understand all that stuff. So how can they even relate to them? They can't relate to them at all. When you talk about, just like when social media, you guys are older than me. Do y'all really know all the social media ways of things? No, you don't.
I don't even have a start of it.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm telling you. So how can you even relate to somebody that's freaking 40, 50 years younger than you? You can't.
Yeah, but some of them on the same token, and that's the way I agree with you at. Some of these old guys like that is not just don't know it, they're not willing to learn it either. So the ones who's not willing to learn, those are the ones that, time passes them by. So you just need to move over and let these young players and young coaches take over, because you're not willing to adapt to what's really happening. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Exactly. We'll see how these coaches, I think their first year is going to be feeling their way through. But Liam Cohen, he came into Jacksonville and made an instant impact. So you
Impact,
just
yes, he
never
did.
know. It's a hit or a miss. The coaches, do you think is going to be successful? Don't always be successful. The coaches that you
One
don't
thing I
think
could say, yeah,
it's the
one thing I
opposite.
could say about that DC is the fact that some of these coaches that's coming in, they only need like one or two pieces of the puzzle to be great anyway. So that's the one thing. Just you say for Harbaugh. Harbaugh just was in the way. He was a guy who been there a long time because he had everything else on that team. The Ravens got everything, man. They got everything to go to the Super Bowl and not just go there but win. But I think that he was the problem. I think that he was the guy who was just standing in the way with his old way of doing things. Now, that's not saying that he's not going to go over there and turn the Giants around because he could. Because he could take his ideas that was old and had cobwebs on them from the Ravens and take that same sentiment over to the Giants and win. So it was just something where it was a change needed to be made. Yep.
I agree. And at the end of the day, it's a hit or a miss for these owners hiring these coaches. So they're going to have to make a solid decision on how they're going to handle certain things with that. And just, a lot of it's fate. I'll just say it's fate. So let's move on to this next topic and let's talk about still NFL coaching hires. Looks like Raheem Morris has been hired as defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Guess what? I'm really happy for Raheem Morris.
Man, DC, I was so happy about
so
that.
ecstatic. Did he join the San Francisco 49ers because he will be able to help that defense? And Fred Warner was injured this year. So with Fred Warner being injured in that middle, it wasn't the same. I'm going to just be perfectly honest with you. With Fred Warner, the inside linebacker for the 49ers roaming that inside of that field, it was different. And no slight on the backup linebacker or linebackers that filled in for Fred Warner. It's just that Fred Warner is a very special player. He kind of reminds me, he's a combination of Junior Seau, but he looks a little bit smaller. And his aggressiveness of getting to the line of scrimmage against the run and his aggressiveness of being able to play the pass is just, to me, unwavering. It's unmatched as far as I could see it. All pro 10 times over as far as I'm concerned. Raheem Morris should be able to take that defense and do some real special things with it, kind of what DeMeco Ryans did when he was with the San Francisco 49ers. So, Najee, help me understand, is this a good hire for Kyle Shanahan to have Raheem Morris as the defensive coordinator for the 49ers?
For the 49ers, of course, man. Of course. I mean, the 49ers are already a good team, man. I mean, they just need to keep their quarterback healthy, man, because that quarterback always hurt, bro. He is always hurt. He is always hurt, bro. I think he had the turf foot thing again or something like that.
You're talking about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy.
You're right.
Yeah.
Because he was hurt. He was ill. Because trust me, I have NFL fantasy football. I had him as my backup quarterback. I couldn't even play him because he was hurt the entire season, bro. He's bro. He's glass.
I don't buy into
They might have to change. They might have to change out their quarterback. I mean, he's
You're talking about Brock
but
changing out Brock. Whoa. You say change out Brock Purdy and they just gave that man the Brinks truck full of money?
Yeah, right. I mean, you got to do something, man. You got to trade for something because, just because you give him a lot of money don't mean anything. He has to be able to play. Just because you pay him all that money?
Hey, Najee, I'm gonna turn I'm gonna let this thing sound like I just came from out the woods, man. I'm a country guy.
I am too.
That guy, he ain't going nowhere.
Brock Purdy ain't going nowhere.
He ain't going nowhere. I'll tell you that right now, bro.
And I see your point, though. I get what you're saying. The assessments of but Brock Purdy is an all-pro quarterback, and they used to call him Mr. Irrelevant because he was drafted so late in the draft. I mean, he came in and he filled in superbly until, he got those injuries and stuff. So I have nothing but good things. And in that NFC Championship game against the Eagles, he just got hurt. He got blindsided by the edge rusher, and his elbow was all jacked up between his elbow and his shoulder. So that was beyond he couldn't do anything about that, right? I mean, when you get injured like that, I think he's a good quarterback. I think there's other areas that Brandon Ayuk, they need to get somebody filled in for him because he's pretty much gone. According to John Lynch, Brandon Ayuk would not play another down. Per the articles that I've read, John Lynch has stated and quoted that Brandon Ayuk would never play another down for the 49ers. Now, that remains to be seen. They need a really solid receiver core to complement each other for him to throw to him because, if you look at George Kittle was the principal target that he was going to, right? At tight end.
And he stays hurt too.
Well, he just had an Achilles tendon tear, right? So he's out.
He sure did. Yeah, he's out. But the thing is, what I was saying about Brock, he's good, but the thing is, he's only played 4 seasons. 2 of those 4, he's played only half the season because of injuries.
Right.
Like what you gonna do with that, man?
Like Tua, man. He sounds
well,
like Tua.
I don't think he's as. Let me just back that up. He's not as injury prone as Tua.
Well, I'm just telling you about the situation with the big Brinks truck of money, and then you ain't.
Yeah, the availability.
The field. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I ain't talking about the severity of the injuries. I'm saying the fact that you loaded him up with cash and he ain't on that field. That's what I'm saying. You loaded that guy up.
That's the risk owners have to take as well, right?
Yeah, but it's difficult to move players when you got that purse so deep and you're trying to get rid of them. And nobody else don't want to accrue those big old lump sum of cash that you got to pay these players. And you was dumb enough to hook him up like that, and he's not being productive. That's on you. You got to eat it.
Well, you know what? Ross need to ask. He need to make Chris Greer pay some of that money because that was a Chris Greer special right there. Chris Greer was the reason he got all that money. Stephen Ross write the checks. The general manager make the suggestions and the recommendations. I would have told Chris Greer on the way out, you owe me money for the next 50 to 60 years as long as you live. For me signing this dude to all this money.
And you know what Chris Greer would have told him, DC?
Go F yourself.
No, he wouldn't have said that. He would have never said that.
No, he would have said that on his way out, I'm pretty sure.
No, he would not. He wouldn't have said that. He would have said it just like as simple as this. You ready?
Ready.
I don't have the money.
What did I tell you? I don't have the money.
You'll see his cash flow problems. I don't have the money.
Okay, so here's Brock Purdy's contract. Let's just go into it quickly. He signed a 5-year, $265 million contract extension. He had a roommate, by the way, before he even signed his contract, even though he was making NFL minimum money, where a rookie minimum money, technically, where he could have had a nice house and whatever he wanted up there. But he had a roommate. He's very frugal, obviously. He come from a farm. I mean, his grandparents and parents they had a farm in Iowa. So $265 million extension, making him the 7th highest paid quarterback by annual average value at $53 million, technically. The deal includes $181 million guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. So if you look at how those type of contracts hit the salary cap in the NFL, and most people don't understand what the salary cap means. The salary cap is the amount of money that the NFL as an organization allots each team owner to spend. Otherwise, it would be just insanely, it would be crazy. There would be no rules. There would be no stopping of them spending $1 billion if they had to, correct?
But that's the thing that all make it all balance out, DC, because everybody have the same amount of money to spend. So if you go out there and overspend on a player, you're going to, cripple your team to get other players. Yeah. So that's why some teams have to let guys go also, because they're too expensive for them to bring in the other type of players they need. And that's what most fans, they got to understand. When a guy leaves, sometimes it's not because he want to leave, it's because they can't afford him any longer. Yeah,
Right.
and from what I was saying, seeing too, and understanding a little bit more about the NIL, DC, that's almost what's happening in college too, man.
Well, it's
When you
beginning to
thinking
get
these
that way
kids,
in college. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
beginning to get that
hmm
way for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely, absolutely. So you're currently watching the DC Stewart Show podcast live with McKinfolk, Isaiah, and Najee. We're currently here, and we're talking about NFL coaching hires as we speak. No ESPN scripts, real talk, real vibing. Stay with us and make sure you subscribe and hit that like button for us. So with that said about Brock Purdy, look, the San Francisco 49ers got a defensive-minded coach now that's going to just
Yeah.
fill right in for Robert Saleh, who vacated that spot to go to the Tennessee Titans. And by the way, I think Tennessee made a really good decision to hire Robert Saleh. How do you feel about that, Najee, about Robert Saleh getting an opportunity to be a head coach again at Tennessee?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, the 49ers actually had you said defensive coach, right?
Yeah, Robert
Yeah.
Saleh was a
Yeah,
defensive
so
coordinator. He's the head coach of
the
Tennessee
49ers
now.
defense is actually pretty decent. So let's see what their offense could actually
Well, when they
bring.
get Fred Warner
That would be
back,
the
they
biggest
definitely
thing.
going to be
Mhm.
solid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So when the offense is, if the offense can mellow out with their defense, they're gonna make some noise next season. They will.
Exactly. So, with that said, let's move on to the next coaching hire. And they've had a lot of. I mean, we talked about Todd Monken on Saturday being the Cleveland Browns coach. Looks like he met with Shedeur Sanders. We don't know how their quarterback room is going to look moving forward because there could be some transactions by, when the draft comes around, there could be some serious transactions going on. Who knows? Will Dylan Gabriel still be there? Will Shedeur still be there? Will Todd Monken just decide, look, I'm going to go with a different quarterback altogether? Isaiah, do you think he's going to stick with these two rookie quarterbacks? They were rookies last year with Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur, and is he going to move forward with them?
Never know what his guy's thinking, man. That's his team now. But I
Very
just
true.
seen the way he, met with Shador over the weekend and how they connected, man. And he said that he wanted to draft him before, but didn't have the opportunity. So, I mean, whether he's telling the truth or not, that remains to be seen if he stick with him. Because from what I can see is he did a smart thing. And then what that smart thing was, he met with his starting quarterback, DC, and he might be pushing to keep Shador around because one thing about it, he proved that he can play this game at this high level in the NFL. He proved that, and we're going to see more of that coming soon. But I think he's going to stay with him. I really do. I don't think if they draft another quarterback, that means they're going to draft another quarterback to trim off some of those deadbeats that they still got on that roster, man, because they still got a load of quarterbacks still on that roster, man. And
Exactly.
it's just going to be a
So that
shame if
means
they
they don't
hang
have
it up.
no type of faith in them there
That-
if they go to
right.
draft another one. It don't
That's
make no
true.
sense. You got plenty
That's
of
true.
holes in your roster to be still focused on the quarterback.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
let me just kind of clarify one thing, and I'm not sure whether you have read something that I haven't read. Is Shador going to be the starting quarterback going into next year? Because I don't think Todd Monken is even named a starting quarterback yet. Is that correct?
Well, he did not. He's just looking at what happened before he got there. He had a starting quarterback in Shador, and he's going to let
Hmm.
these guys go out there and battle it out in training camp. And that from where it is right now, Shador is the starter. I mean, he's going to go out there and put him in there first. And if it's been proven otherwise, that's when he'll make changes. Because right now, understand something, DC and Najee. Shador was at the number 6 spot at the
True.
beginning of last season. And now he's the number 1 guy. Where else you going? That means he beat all the
Well,
rest of the 5 or 6 guys.
let me clarify. He was the number one guy until Kevin Stefanski got fired. At least at the very tail end of the season, he was the number one quarterback. So,
Well, it still remains, Sam. You got to understand something, man. It's going to always be like that. When you got a new guy coming in, you got the guy who was starting when you came in there, he going to leave the
he'll
guy
more
there.
likely be the starter going into training camp. Correct. I agree with
Right.
you.
And then
Yeah.
until he mess it up. If he mess it up, that's going to be on him.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I was looking at some of the grades of these teams, and I think we've looked at it before about these teams being graded. I would say the Giants, with that hire, was a very good hire. I would even say the Ravens with Jesse Minter, with that young-minded coach, was a good hire. You guys got any teams that you don't think did well in the draft? I mean, with these coaching hires? I mean, just outright, any team come to mind, would you think?
No, not. I don't think anything come to mind.
Well, Kevin
you
Stefanski
know,
sticks out to me for the Atlanta Falcons, that he was able to
oh
just
yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
about
he was
him.
able to waltz his way
He should-
into Atlanta after he got fired out of Cleveland, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
that's
let me
exactly what
tell
I
you
was
something.
thinking.
Now, that
That's
guy
exactly what I was
needs to be
thinking.
in the unemployment line, man. He shouldn't have a job at all. He
I don't
shouldn't even
say I
have a
won't say
job.
he shouldn't have a job at all. I think he's a decent offensive minded coach, but I just don't think that he didn't prove enough to justify Arthur Blank hiring him with the Atlanta Falcons so quickly like that I mean, it didn't take any time at all, but like I say, there was other influences that I believe that Arthur Blank was listening to. And that's what made him think that, look, I can hire this guy and he'll come in and he'll take my team to the next level. But that NFC South, it's a garbage division, if you ask me. You know, but the teams are getting better, because if you look at what Dave Canales has done with the Carolina Panthers, Todd Bowles, maybe, you know, he's kind of a 50-50 with the Bucks coming out of the
Yeah.
NFC South. And
Mhm.
then you have Kellen Moore for the Saints, the Aints, I call them.
And that's
So
who Dave's probably numbered.
the Falcons are in a division
ain't
that
no
they
problem.
should be able to make waves, but we'll see what happens, correct?
Yeah, I mean, with that hire with the Falcons, man, and the reason why I say he shouldn't have a job, because it was so many things that happened while he was with the Browns, man, that it was almost a sabotage. And when you got a guy who's not doing the best, not pulling out the very best in this club, I wouldn't trust him to hold any other position. And that's the reason why I say he shouldn't have a job. It ain't nowhere in the world I would give him a leadership role again like that, the way he carried out that club last year, because it was some despicable things that happened along the way. It ain't no way in the world that your quarterback should be onto the field with the playlist on his wrist that don't belong to him.
Right.
That stuff right there
That
is
looks pretty bad.
unbelievable. Allegedly, Shador was on the field with a playbook that did not belong to him as a starting quarterback. How did that happen? Unless it
Exactly.
was some sabotage, man, going on. And then they
Exactly.
put him in when it was just no other way to go. You go from 6 to number 1, and everybody else fell along the wayside. And then finally, they give him an opportunity to play at the tail end of the season. And that's not even fair to anybody on the team to see something like that being conducted.
Let me just make
Yeah.
one solid point here about any professional sport, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's hockey, whether it's whatever the case may be, Major League Baseball. It is not easy to win, especially when you have other franchises and other organizations with the same or similar amount of talent, because right now we're in a league right now where the talent is kind of balanced out in a lot of ways, as opposed to the 80s where most of the great talent was on one or two teams. You know, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Dallas Cowboys, those type of teams had all of the solid talent back then.
Yeah.
The rest of the league was trying to play catch up. Now we're at a balanced situation right now where these teams match up against each other with talent very well.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, they
very
do.
difficult to win in the NFL. And I'm specifically going to talk about the NFL. It's very difficult to win. It's not going to be easy for any coach to take any organization and go forward with them. This game is coming up. We're in the final week before the Super Bowl, which is this coming Sunday. and the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots with two coaches that technically were coordinators. I mean, at least, Mike McDonald was a coordinator. He was a defensive coordinator for the Ravens, and Mike Vrabel was a head coach one time with the Titans, but he was a coordinator at one point as a defensive coordinator. So you see what young coaches can do and what brilliantly minded coaches with some experience can do, really. So Najee, I want to go ahead and start this next topic out, and I want to talk a little bit about how you feel about Bill Belichick, Dollar Bill. I call him Dollar Bill. Dollar Bill Belichick. Did you think he got a good shake, a fair shake, with not being a first ballot Hall of Famer? Because me and Isaiah has already expressed the way we felt about it.
Yeah, I think that was groundbreaking to even see that. I'm like, how, he was, we already said before that even happened, he's probably the greatest coach ever when it comes to football. Just like how some people say it would be Phil Jackson or Greg Popovich for basketball. So how does he not make it to first ballot? It doesn't make sense. The math is not mathing, bro. It's not. Now, what people probably gonna say is, since Brady has left, that his coaching skill doesn't look, as sharp as it was. That could be their greatest argument, because he's tried years after Brady left, and then he tried to go to college, and it's not looking good either. That's gonna be That's gonna be their biggest thing, honestly, because now you don't had so many years after Brady to show that you have not done anything for me lately in a game of football.
I think it was some other variables behind that. Don't you think so, Isaiah? And what you said is true, Najee, by the way, but there was a whole bunch of different variables involved in the decision-making process, and everybody has weighed in on social media. The reason I'm asking is because Gronk weighed in, and according to Gronk, per Gronk, he got screwed. Quote, per Gronk, he got screwed by not being a first ballot Hall of Fame.
That was his coach. Of course he'll say that. Yep. It ain't like it's somebody that said that hated him or was always against him. It was somebody in his core. So he did. Of course he said the right thing. But the thing is, also, like what I said, not only he hasn't won anything or had a winning season since, but then look what the Patriots are doing now. They've been better since he left. Now they took the Super Bowl again after he left.
Yeah, thanks to Mike Vrabel.
So
but
again,
you got to remember one thing: Mike Vrabel learned his craft through Bill Belichick, though, because he played on those Super Bowl championships.
Of course, but what I'm saying is he's had so many seasons without Brady losing, and look, it took less seasons for him to be gone for them to go right back to the Super Bowl. Right back.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It really doesn't look good for him. But me personally, I don't think these few years should diminish what he's accomplished already. I don't think that's cool. He's already beaten freaking barriers of what other coaches could even dream to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
That don't make any sense at all. I mean, it really don't. You can't neglect the fact that overall, this guy's entire career as a professional coach, no matter who was on that team and who was not on that team, it has nothing to do with the personnel that was on his staff as a player. Has nothing to do with that. You go in the Hall of Fame for your body of work, yours, not no coach, not no other coach or player that you had on your staff or your roster. They were talking about him individually, the body of work that he acquired while he was in there as a head coach, whether he go in. It has nothing to do with Tom Brady at all. Because Tom Brady did not even win this thing by himself. He had great receivers. He had a great offensive coordinator. And he also had a great defensive coordinator during this time. And they wouldn't have won those championships had they had a good defense, despite having Tom Brady as their quarterback. So people got to forget about what was then on that roster for real. They got to look at Belichick's body of work and
Mm-hmm.
just say, okay, the Shules of the world, the Chuck Norris of the world, all of these guys who was ahead of Belichick and he passed them, and he's not a first ballot Hall of Fame. Okay, now everybody who's entered this conversation says, oh well, he'll be in there next year. He's not going to coach in the NFL anymore. Why is he going to go next year and he can't go this year? What's the difference? He's not going to win any more games to get there to make
That
his
makes sense.
record
That
better.
makes sense.
So why? It's BS, man. It's a personal vendetta they had against the guy, whether it's the deflate gate or the cheating or all the kind of crap that they said that they were doing during his tenure as a head coach. If they bring that into play, okay, you personalize this thing and say he ain't getting in there because I don't like how he won. But the fact still remains you didn't ever take down one of them damn championship trophies from him. You never forfeit any of his games. So that means all those records that we're talking about to get him to be the best coach that ever played
It's still intact.
coach in the NFL is still there. So why are you not putting this guy in? You playing games. And it also marginalized the fact that there's a panel of people voted on this thing. Now, you looking at them cockeyed now because you say, how in the world you didn't put this guy in? So you diminish your position as a voter to vote this guy in because you're going to turn around and vote him in next year. That's crazy.
Well, there's no guarantee next year either. I mean, that we assume that they're going to vote him in next year because of all of the fallout from this year, right?
If they was voting correctly, DC, they won't even put him in next year. If
it
that's
only
the case,
takes a handful of people. You got to have 80% of the vote to get nominated to be into the Hall of Fame, and he didn't get that this year. The same people, more than likely, next year are going to be the same people to vote.
Change their mind. They're going to flip flop. They're going to flip flop and change their mind next year. So yeah, we should put them in.
I can't predict that because everything is based on subjectivity. Am I right, Najee? Everything is based upon subjectivity. Am I right?
Yeah, you would think so. You would think so, but like I said, but what Isaiah said, I mean, I personally think it's personal too. But I was just giving excuses of reason why they won't do that to him. But I agree because it's definitely personal. It's not his body of work because his body of work is I ain't gonna say it's flawless, but it's top tier. Like nobody else is gonna get that. Nobody in the league is gonna. Nobody in the NFL is gonna beat what he has done in the league. Not in our timeline. Not in our timeline.
Not in this generation. Happen, I don't think.
No, it's not. It's not. Who's going? Who? I mean, outside of what the Patrick Mahomes team, the Chiefs. Outside of what they have done, nobody.
Andy Reid and that Chiefs team.
I mean, that's the only team that's even coming. That's the only coach that's even coming close to what Belichick is doing. I mean, that's the only. Come on, man. It don't make no sense.
I don't think it makes sense.
They're going through right now.
But at the bottom line of it, we'll have to wait and see. As I said over the weekend, only 5 other coaches have made it in on the first ballot. That was George Halas for the Chicago Bears, Curly Lambeau for the Green Bay Packers, Tom Landry for the Dallas Cowboys, Chuck Noll for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Don Shula for the Miami Dolphins. Those are the only coaches have made it in on first ballot.
And tell me which one of those coaches got a better resume than him.
None of their records not even better than his. None of them.
Not even close. None of them. Not even close.
Right there, case closed.
Especially when it comes to Super Bowl wins. I want to add that in there. That golden nugget. I'll add that in there. Super Bowl wins.
Don Shula had great seasons, but he only went to the Super Bowl 3 times. And he won 2 of them, I think. And he had an undefeated season, which had not been broken.
Right. That 17-0 season.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, one thing is for sure that the NFL has got to do better in a lot of areas. They have a lot of things that they need to work on. Najee, I'm going to go ahead and add this one last topic in before we close the show out. What do you think of the Pro Bowl? Because I just I vented my anger over the weekend about the Pro Bowl, how bad it
Yeah,
is
we both
now,
did.
how it's
We
not
both
even
Mm-hmm.
did.
watchable anymore. I don't see how
Yeah.
sponsors even
It's
sponsor
worthless,
it. It's a
waste of
joke.
time.
It's a waste of time. Uh, Orlando, Florida is not Honolulu, Hawaii, by the way. What do you think of that, Najee?
I mean, because they cost us short, man. Because they know themselves that it's not worth even watching. But football is not the only sport that's struggling with
Suffering.
that because
Yeah.
the NBA is struggling with that too when it comes to the All Star thing. But, I mean, it's the interest, and it's also just the competitive level of what the situation is. Because I know Isaiah doesn't like the Pro Bowl anyway, because especially right before the Super Bowl, he hates that. I know he hates that already. So I'm like, yeah, because
Well,
you're
that was
willing
the
to
number one
risk.
mistake they made is changed
Yeah,
it where it's
because
before the
you
Super
can
Bowl.
hurt them right before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He can tear anything. He's not going to be 100% healthy. He might sprain something. He might be a little sore. So now, guess what? Now you're going to compromise your whole um chances to win the Super Bowl just because you want to play an exhibition game.
Well, they don't get a chance to play at all. It used to be where you went to the Pro Bowl, it was like a reward for
That
you
is a reward
playing
for
so great.
It
exactly.
For
is.
playing great throughout the season. And then you had bragging rights, man, when you played in the Pro Bowl. Because you think about on the Pro Bowl where you had that diversity, where you got all your players from each division playing at a high level. You got the best of the best out there. And then if you a guy who's on a team, like for instance, if you was a Raven fan and you got your quarterback and your running back as starters in the Pro Bowl, that's bragging rights, man.
Hmm.
Just think about it. You the
Yeah.
best of the best on each division where you got a Raven quarterback and a Raven running back. That tandem of that offense is starting in the Pro Bowl. So those are bragging rights. And they took all of that away, man. And then they put it before the Super Bowl, which means if you go into the Super Bowl, you can't play in the Pro Bowl because you go into the Super Bowl. So all of that good play throughout the year, you don't get recognized for it. So it's just all backwards, man. I thought it used to be superb where you can fly over to Hawaii, bring your family and your relatives to come over there and enjoy a week's vacation and have a good time in the good weather. Because look at it right now. We're in South Florida right now and there's freaking ice on the ground. So you think about it, Hawaii, it was always sunny, always beautiful. The sun is shining, and the beautiful restaurants were making money, and the women and the clubs and all that scene made money. It just was nice to go over there and they show how they belly dancing in the culture of the people being over in Hawaii. So it was nice to see that.
Listen,
Yeah,
it's nothing like getting one of those fresh reefs placed onto your neck. Once you
yeah,
arrive at Honolulu International Airport, the scent,
yeah,
the good smelling scent.
yeah,
I've had it. I've been
yeah.
blessed enough to be there to experience that, and it's just nothing like
What about the
Hawaii.
fresh flour in your drink,
It's
DC? You ain't mentioned nothing about that.
well,
You know you like to have the
well, Najee,
special
Najee,
drink.
Najee is me and Najee gonna get together, and once we get to Hawaii, because we'll be going to Hawaii at some point to cover the University of Hawaii, by the way. Because we're gonna get acclimated with Coach Timmy Chang over there. Timmy Chang he
Yeah,
was an all America quarterback for the University of Hawaii. He is the head coach. We plan to go to the campus of University of Hawaii Manoa and cover their program. How about that, gentlemen?
No.
So we'll have some
yeah,
nice cocktails with fresh flowers in the water. Except for you. Except for you. You're not gonna have a
yeah.
cocktail. You're gonna have some orange juice,
The
right? Because that's what
cranberry,
you drink.
yeah,
Nah, he gonna have some
cranberry,
Pepsi.
Yeah,
yeah,
well, he got to
cranberry
stay.
juice.
Hey, we've made a deal, Najee. We've made a deal with each other to lose weight, so he's got to stay away from Pepsis. He can't be drinking nothing
Yeah,
sweet like
I
that.
haven't drank the Pepsi in a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
at
we'll
that.
do a
I'm
quick
trying to
Q
take
and
down
A.
40 pounds.
We'll do a quick Q&A and close this thing out. Technically, we talked about coaches at the beginning of the show about whether coaches are just recycled or whether the league is trying to make some really big strides to bring some very innovative minds into the game as head coaches. Now, here's the difference. The NFL is about entertainment, just like Major League Baseball, just like the NBA. People go, they pay their money, their hard-earned money to go see entertainment. So offense is entertainment. Everything is about scoring. The defense is just part of the entertainment process. Let me ask you guys one question, and before we close this thing out. Are teams building cultures with entertainment, or are they just kind of recycling, going around in a circle, chasing their tails with coaches, whether they're young coaches, whether they're older coaches, or the whole 9 yards? I'll start with you, Isaiah.
I think that everybody's trying to win. They are trying to win, and just because some coach didn't fit a certain organization does not mean they're not a good coach, man. It's just so many variables can happen with that. You can get a guy who's an excellent coach, but just didn't work out. Just did not work out, man, because that can happen. You know, it's happening all the time where you guy go out there and get his butt handed to him, but go to another team and win a championship. That's happened too. So all of these guys are filling in well around. Is always a hit or miss, like we said before, and we'll see. Like all of these coaches that's got hired in the last 2 weeks, they're all good coaches, and they just bounced around from one place to another. Some of them going to succeed, and some of them probably be looking for another job in the next couple of years. So that's
Absolutely.
This is the way it is. Yeah,
Absolutely. How about you, Najee? You feel the same way?
No, I definitely agree, man. Because the thing is, everybody have we go by the microwave result thing already. So I mean, sometimes you can't always expect quick results. Sometimes it needs time to blend. But guess what? If it doesn't, you're already out the door, man. And the thing is, if you start off on a bad, let's say if you start off on a bad team, and you go from 3 wins to like 5, you're already showing progression. But I mean, some people want to go from 3 to 10, 3 to 12. I'm like, you can't do that. Sometimes it takes time to make it work.
Exactly. And I totally concur with both of you guys. I don't need to elaborate further on that. You guys were spot on with your assessments of what's going on with that. If today shows us anything, it's just like every league is trying to find and feel their way to that success, in the sense that all of the organizations who are within these leagues are competing at the highest level to get to being the champions of their leagues, and that matters the most. So before we close this show out, we thank everybody that joined us today. We always thank everybody for joining us. I'm meeting people on a daily basis, and they are subscribing to our YouTube pages and all of our other social media. We want to thank you personally, because we appreciate you coming aboard and spending the time with us to listen to what we have to say. That matters. Everything matters. Your opinion matters. All three of our opinion we consider matters on this show. So we want to make sure that we thank you as always. And we'll keep bringing this good smoke to you. We're going to bring it to you. We ain't stopping. You know, you'll see a lot of other podcasts. They come on and they come and they go. You don't see these people anymore. Mysteriously, they just poof, they're gone. You know, but we're not going down that road on this show. We're going to be here for the duration. So stay with us. We're getting ready to go over to WDCS Live. That is an audio only show. We're going to be covering some kick butt topics today, talking about the Grammy Awards from last night. We're going to be talking a little bit. We're going to even sprinkle a little bit of NBA in there, because that news we think is very important to our radio show as well. So make sure you join, subscribe, and hit that like button for all of us. Isaiah, I will have you close out really quickly before we start our radio show.
No problem. Well, I'm always saying this, and DC just covers some of it, and I always say thanks, man. Thanks for waking up. I'm thanking God that we woke up this morning healthy and with a sound mind, and I want you guys to be blessed and stay warm, because I know it's cold all over the country, so you guys drive safely, because it's kind of scary to drive around in snow when it's dangerous. So you guys be mindful of the roads with the ice and all this type of stuff, and have a pleasant week and get ready for that Super Bowl. Yes, it'll
Yeah,
be a good
whichever
game.
team you're pulling for, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, Najee, you got anything to close us out with?
Peace and blessings, love God, because He definitely gonna love you. Yeah, just like what Isaiah said, just try to keep warm. Like I was born and raised in Florida, and I've never seen ice on my car, and I had to sit down and let my car defrost for like 20 minutes, bro. So if it's cold in Central Florida, I can't imagine going to New York or Chicago or anybody
Or any
that's
place like
already
that, the
stays cold.
Midwest or the
Any place that stayed cold
Northeast.
already, bro,
Yeah.
I know, but they are
Yeah.
suffering, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they catching it for sure, you know.
Oh,
So
and happy Black History Month.
This is the DC Stewart Show podcast live, no ESPN scripts, real talk, real debate. And you know, we're gonna be joining us again at the end of the week. We'll have a special show on Saturday covering the Super Bowl, pre-Super Bowl show. We're gonna be talking about both teams and how they got there and everything. And we're spinner approved. Ruff, ruff. Once Spinner approves us, we're good to go. So anyway, take care of yourself, take care of everything, your mind, your mental spirits, your physical spirits, and we're here with you. If you need to talk with us, just drop us a line. We'll definitely get back with you as soon as possible, that we can get back with you with. And we'll see you again soon. Join our radio show, WDCS Live with McKen Folk, Isaiah and Najee. We finna get ready and knock it out of the park in about 10 minutes. Okay? So we'll be online in 10 minutes, audio only. Take it easy. Peace, love, and prosperity. Take it easy.